for more than a year. In Kansas, providers asked a trial court judge to block a new restriction on how they dispense abortion medications in that state. This is SRN News. Muscle cars are being dropped by their manufacturers. Detroit automakers phasing out the autos in order to meet government emissions standards as they transition to electric vehicles. Ford says it has about 13,000 U.S. orders for the 2024 Mustangs. Italy is celebrating the return of 266 antiquities.
They were looted and sold to museums and private collectors in the United States. The returned items include artifacts recently seized in New York from a storage unit belonging to a British antiquities dealer. The art unit of Italy's Carabinieri paramilitary police said the haul that arrived in Rome on Friday also included 65 objects from Houston's Menil collection. It said the owner of the Houston Museum collection spontaneously gave back the items after investigators determined they had come from clandestine excavations of archaeological sites. Keith Peters reporting.
More of these stories at srnnews.com.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Good morning, Florida. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Today is Saturday, August the 12th, and it is 8:02 a.m., and you're listening to me, Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, so if you have legal questions, you know what to do. Give us a call, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's program. Give us a call now. You can email your question directly to me, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com, Patrick at attorneypatricksmith.com. Also check out the website, attorneypatricksmith.com, where you can submit questions, request appointments for any of our office locations, or book us for any speaking engagements, and we'll be mentioning some upcoming speaking engagements here later in the show. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local studio line for access to the law office this morning. So if you have a question that came up during your week that regards a legal matter, no legal matter off limits, give us a call now. We are here to help. 877-943-9673. And the usual gang here, Yumiko, the producer, Brian, the call screener, and with us in studio, our regular, very special guest, Attorney Jared Bailey. Jared, good morning.
Morning, Patrick. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, buddy. Always a pleasure to have you in the studio. So if you have a question for us, both Jared and I are here to help you this morning. 877-943-9673. So Jared, for those who might be newer to the program, why don't you just give a brief 30-second introduction of yourself to the listeners?
Sure, no problem. Thank you. My name is Jared Bailey. I'm a personal injury attorney over here in the Tampa Bay area. Our office is over in Seminole, but we cover pretty much the entire state. Bailey Legal Group is where we are, and if there's anything we can ever help you with, be happy to do so.
And also, for those of you who are part of my practice that may recognize Jared's name, Jared now for well over a year been of counsel with my firm, helping us out with some of our estate planning in the Haines City, Winter Haven, and Apopka area, and we really appreciate your help with that. So both Jared and I are here to help you any way we can. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Today, we are going to discuss a very ubiquitous, I think is the best way to describe it, topic. So let's say it's Friday afternoon. You're getting home from work, and, you're finally ready for your weekend. You can feel your comfy outfit getting ready to slip on. Maybe you're going to sneak a few minutes by the pool, relax. But as you pull into the driveway, you remember, hey, I got to go check that mailbox. Haven't done that yet today. Right. And so, you're really thinking about it. Maybe there's a bill in there, but nothing major. And then you open it and you find something in there letting you know you've been summoned for jury duty. So we have not discussed this topic on the show. So I wanted to make sure we give it a fair turn here on the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. So you've gotten that summons. What does it mean? Well, it means you are now compelled to appear on the date and time. And I find it interesting. Different counties do it differently. Recently, Someone I know got summoned in Pinellas County, and the way they notify you of the specific date and time if you need to show up, it's through Twitter. There's actually like a Twitter account where you
Correct.
go and you can check it. And if you're part of group A or group not, and you have to know the group differences because, you can look like you're excused, but you're not excused because if you're below this number, but not above another number. So you are being compelled to appear. So unless you are excused in writing, you need to appear for this jury. Now, why do we have juries? Because everyone has a constitutional right, both under the state and under the federal constitution, a right to a jury trial. Now, someone can always waive that right and request a bench trial instead. And that is an option available. But the default provision is you have that right to a trial of a jury of your peers. So that is your constitutional right. And that means we tap citizens to serve in that capacity. Now, how often can you, Jared, you know the answer to that? How often can you be summoned for jury duty?
I really don't know the answer to that, but there is definitely a limit.
Yeah, once a year is the limit, and it's once a year whether you actually served on the jury or not. If you showed up and were not used, you were dismissed. That's perfectly fine. But if you don't show up, there can be consequences in the state of Florida, and in the state of Florida, some of those consequences include fines, possibly being held in contempt of court. So you definitely want to give it the appropriate attention. And not every state handles not showing up to jury duty equally. So Nate, the intern, did some research this week for us and found us some of the least lenient and some of the most lenient states. And leading the pack for least lenient would be the state of Illinois, which has a fine for not showing up for jury duty. You ready for this, Jared? $5 would be your fine.
Oh, $5.
$5. And now it is possible that the judge could assess jail time under their discretion. And in addition to that, they could actually order you for community service, and the official charge would be contempt of court. But which state of our 50 do you think is going to be the most strict when it comes to missing jury duty? Where is everything bigger?
Everything's bigger in, what will we say, New York City?
Texas.
Texas leading the way with a fine of between $100 to $1,000 for missing jury duty, and jail time, ready for this, up to 6 months.
It's very Texas.
That's a lot different than $5
Very
in
much
Illinois. So know your states and know the consequences. And the short version is show up. And what I found is if you call most clerk of the courts and tell them, hey, I've got a problem with the date, they can help you get rescheduled. But if you don't communicate with them, that's when they tend to not like that. So you want to reach out and just open up a line of communication. And we'll get into some of the excuses for jury duty, both valid and invalid. But if you have a jury duty story, we'd love to hear from you. Were you called for a jury? Did you serve on the jury? What was it like? Did you use a creative excuse and get out of jury duty? If you have any jury duty stories or questions, give us a call now. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show, and I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, along with special guest Attorney Jared Bailey. Let's go to our first caller. We're going to go to Wildwood, and we're going to talk to Ken. Ken, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. How can we help you today?
Well, I live in a retirement community, and I'm hearing my neighbors talk here and there about Airbnb, where kids come in on spring break and they're noisy, they're loud, disrespectful. But, kids on spring break, we understand that. But is there a way to limit that in a retirement community where most of us, we roll in the sidewalks at dusk and we're in bed by 9? And that's just kind of the time that these folks are getting started. And I'm just wondering what can be done. I know that I'm a former landlord, and I know that there's a covenant of quiet enjoyment that protected my tenants from me as a landlord causing them a problem. But English common law, doesn't that cut both ways for both me being a property owner, not just being a tenant in a situation?
Ken, exactly how far out of reach is your copy of Blackstone's commentaries at the moment?
Well, I'm not a lawyer and I don't play one on TV.
All right. So
But
you know where that
I can
line
look it up.
is. But I applaud you
Yeah.
recognizing common law and our origins there. The short answer is you're right. I mean, there's a covenant of quiet enjoyment for anybody who's under a leasehold agreement. And then there's also just common decency. And I think that anytime and we're dealing with a similar situation in Rocks Beach where I live. And this is just a sort of issue that's statewide, and hopefully the state officials will give some attention to this matter. Otherwise, right now, other issues seem to be getting a little more priority. And, things like homeowners insurance and short-term rentals don't really seem to be getting put on the front burner, and they probably should be, in my opinion. And this is one of those issues. We're going to need state legislation across the state to address this issue. There's locally, it's sort of, hit and miss depending on which community you're in and if you passed a regulation, whether or not there's grandfather provisions, but it's going to come down to a combination, Ken, of local city, county, and state statutes and ordinances. So even within that, is this a private homeowners association as well?
Well, there is one, but not really. I mean, it comes down to the individual. And I perceive that they've heard rental income, rental property, you become a billionaire and it's easy and it's all passive income. Well, as a landlord for a number of years, I can tell you it's aggravating work with a lot of drama. It's not really easy. But that being said, if I went on to Airbnb just out of curiosity to see that if what was listed in my neighborhood, and there's no provision there, or there's no indication there that this is a retirement community. So, anyone that wants to plunk on there, say, hey, me and a dozen of my college friends want to come down and, take over this house, they can do that. And part of the problem is, all right, let's say they come here for a week. Well, you could call the police on them, they'll quiet them down and all that, but then they're gone. But then the following week, another whole new batch comes in. And so that's why my perception is, at one time, the local law enforcement in Baltimore, Maryland, sent me a letter that I had what was potentially a nuisance house. And there were actions that the city could take against a nuisance house. And there were some things going on there that I did not like. And I told the chief of police, I said, listen, City Hall has got my arms tied behind my back and they're trying to kick my legs out from underneath me. So let's see what we can work together. And so with the local police chief, I said, why don't we have your drug sniffing dog come through my house once a week here, my tenant's house, and just to assure that they're not, they're not have illicit substances. The sheriff thought it was a good idea. I gave the tenant about a 4-week notice that this was going to happen, just to prove that they were innocent. And they decided to find another place to live.
Oh, so the dog actually didn't come do the sniff.
It did not, but the sheriff was willing, or the police officer was willing, and I was willing. I knew what he would find. The police, knew what they would find, and the tenant knew what they would find. So my point is, landlords do have, in my opinion, a responsibility to their neighbors, and they also have a responsibility to the community. And I think there must be a way somehow to tighten up so that landlords know who is, the ages of who is renting,
right,
without getting into a discrimination thing.
Well, for me, it's a statewide thing. It's more akin to like Florida homestead law. This is something that affects all Floridians, so it requires attention at the state level by the state legislature and the governor's office, in my opinion. So until that's done, Ken, I think you're going to continue to see a lot of these gray areas, questions, and lawsuits getting filed to sort of find where the answer is, in light of the fact that the state hasn't yet, in my opinion, adequately addressed these issues for the entire state as far as what the regulations and the rules are going to be. And so I guess the short answer is stay tuned. Set an appointment with your local representatives. Express your opinion face-to-face with them. I think that'll go a long way right now.
All right, so start talking to, now, both on a county level, I'm in Sumter County, county level and Florida level, or should I concentrate on the state?
I think more is more. I think you reach out to all the above, and absolutely, and see where you get the most traction. And, whatever side you're on. If you're an STR owner, or if you're a neighbor who lives next to an STR that you're annoyed by, I think, both sides need to engage in this process, because it's that dialogue that will bring about some sort of compromise that hopefully everyone can live with.
That term's STR. I'm not familiar with that.
Short-term rentals.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. All right. Counselor, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Ken, great call. Thanks for calling in. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number. I'm Attorney Patrick Smith with my special guest, Attorney Jared Bailey, and this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. If you want to give us a call now, 877-943-9673. I think it's going to be a long time before that short-term rental controversy sort of goes away. But do you agree? You think it needs some attention at the state level, Jared?
100%. I mean, until we get oversight from up above to kind of take care of some of our problems here, we're kind of left to our own devices. And I mean, I believe the gentleman's name was Ken. In his situation there, if he wanted to band together and maybe take a look at the bylaws and kind of work about grassroots type of thing, but it really just depends if you can find some commonality with people around you that are having the same issue and kind of band together. But like you said, more is more, either way you look at it.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we're all neighbors.
Correct.
We have to learn to get along.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's the short answer to the question. 877-943-9673. All right, we're going to go to Tampa, and we're going to talk to Amy. Amy, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hi, Patrick.
Hey,
Thank
Amy.
you for the service. I listen to you every week on the way to work out.
Well, Amy, it's listeners like you that are the reason why we do it every week. So thank you for listening so faithfully.
Absolutely. So I have a jury duty story that's pretty epic.
All right. It's epic. So you're setting the bar high, Judy. Go.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So I served on a federal grand jury for 18 months, which was a long time. And we were only supposed to meet once a week, and you called the night before and listened to a recording to see if you had to go in the next day. And the reason we were kept on that jury for so long is because we had to circle back to cases that we listened to at the beginning of the 18-month stint, and they wanted that same jury to hear the whole thing, which came around months later.
Amy, were you sequestered for the 18 months?
No,
Okay.
God, no, because it was only one day a week that they met, and I learned so much. Me being a lowly substitute teacher too, I made more money going into doing that because they pulled from 8 counties because it was Middlesex, and they pulled from Pasco, Pinellas, Polk, Hillsborough, where I live. They would have let people who traveled a long way spend the night in a hotel downtown, and this is when we watched the Floridian hotel being revamped. They brought that back to its original glory, because that's where Tampa, that's right next to the building where the federal grand jury was. And they paid for miles too. They pay you for driving in miles.
Well, and thank you for your service as a teacher. There's nothing lowly about that. I mean, that is one of the most underappreciated callings out there. So thank you to all our teachers listening right now. And you're saying you made more money as a juror in this federal grand jury than you did as a substitute teacher?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
At the time, they were paying 55 cents a mile. And of course, they paid for parking downtown Tampa. And they also paid a per diem, which I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was $55 a day or something like that. And literally, we didn't start until like 9:30. So you missed like the ugly morning traffic. And we usually broke before the afternoon traffic. Not always. Sometimes we would stay late, but we had a whole hour for lunch, which was different than being a sub. You only have 30 minutes to eat as a sub. And once you drop your kids off and pick them up, it's really only 20 minutes to go to the bathroom.
So what'd you do with all the extra time, Amy?
Yeah.
You mean you mean the days we were called down?
No, I was saying you were talking about how quickly you had to eat lunch, and now you have this hour, this luxurious hour to eat lunch. Were you guys allowed to go off campus and visit?
Absolutely. Yes, we absolutely were allowed. And I was the one that was from Tampa. And we had a really tight jury pool. We were really close. We exchanged phone numbers, and we would communicate with each other a little bit. Of course, nothing about the trials.
Do you
But
still talk to some of the former jurors today, Amy?
No, we've lost contact because it's been a long time. But I learned so much. I learned so many acronyms. We heard a lot of cases with ICE,
Mhm.
Immigration and Customs Control, and I was always the one that stuck my hand up. What's that acronym mean? Because everybody uses acronyms, and
Well, you just heard Ken want to know what STR was. Attorneys love acronyms, and any chance we can confuse someone with an acronym, it seems like we use it. So, Amy, I
Cool.
appreciate that you were the one to ask that question, because I guarantee you weren't the only one in that room that needed clarification on that. And a
absolutely,
lot of times attorneys
absolutely.
take it for granted. We deal with this every day, and a lot of
Yeah.
laypersons don't. So, do you remember specifically, and don't go into any names of any defendants, but do you remember any specifics about the charges that were being brought?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And we really can't. We were really sworn to secrecy. We could keep notes, but we had to keep our notes there, and they were destroyed at the end.
So was this
And-
like
and
a
I
federal? Was this a federal grand jury?
Oh yeah. It
Okay.
was a federal grand jury. We would hear cases about Polk County school board, just everything. ICE, like bilge tanks. I never learned so much about the bottom of a ship and what they're allowed to release into the ocean and waters, and a lot of.
Amy, I would love to take the time one day to unpack how we got into bilge ships releasing stuff from their tanks in Polk County.
With a federal grand jury.
With
Well,
a
no,
federal grand
that
jury.
one, that we heard so many cases in that 18 months. We heard probably 15 to 20 different cases. But my question is, I have never been called back to jury duty, even on not a federal grand jury. I probably will never get called back because I've done my duty, I think, in their eyes. But I would like to do some cases, local, the 1 or 2 day. We never heard anything murder. There's no murders in a grand jury either.
Yeah, and that's because you're excused from jury duty for a certain number of a certain period if you've served on a federal grand jury. So that's probably the reason why your name's not coming up in the queue. But Amy, I find it refreshing your eagerness with which you want to serve as a juror, because most people, I think, and I think the typical thought is have a narrative of let's run from jury duty, and you're running towards it. And it sounds like you really, really enjoyed it. Have you ever considered a career in law? Maybe just a pivot from substitute teaching, going back and getting a law degree?
No, you're adorable. I'm 63, so I wouldn't do that.
Age is just a number, Amy. I went to law school with a guy. No, I'm being serious. I went to law school with a guy in Chapel Hill who was 65 years old.
It's true. Right?
Wow.
A 60-year-old
So
wow.
it's never too late.
To me, it was the highest form of community service, and I am all about community service. I do a bunch of different kinds, but I learned so much. I got paid for it. It was amazing.
Amy, when you guys were getting selected, did you hear anybody offer any terrible excuses for not wanting to serve?
Well, I mean, I guess so, but I get it. Like if you're pregnant, or the lady who brought the 3 babies in and her 5-year-old because she couldn't find care. And here was the thing. I had a child at the time in daycare, and they let me take her there free of charge because I was doing that. And I'll never forget that. That was big.
Yeah, I was called for jury duty, and some of the excuses that are valid are if you're over the age of 70, if you're caring for someone who's a minor of a certain age, and none of those applied to me. Do you want to guess the reason why I was excused, Amy?
No, I don't know why.
Because there was
you're a lawyer?
there was a big box on there that said, if you are a practicing attorney, please check the box here and don't bother showing up. So yeah, they rarely want attorneys on the jury, but there's always a chance, I guess, is what we would say. So
well, I had a good story that the judge asked me. He questioned every single person, and I did serve on a 2-day jury duty at a more Tampa level. And I'll never forget when it was time to go deliberate, I was the alternate. So I couldn't go deliberate. But the judge called me later that afternoon and told me their answer. And I thought, wow, that made me feel special because I listened and took notes, but I was the alternate, and I didn't know I was the alternate until it was time to go deliberate. And I just thought,
Amy, I'm going to tell you right now, you were special before that just for your work as a substitute teacher, and we're going to officially refer to you as Amy, the professional juror, anytime you call into the show from now on. So, Amy, absolutely fantastic call. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday, okay?
all right. Thank you. You too, Patrick.
All right, bye-bye.
Take care.
877-943-9673. Amy hanging up does open up a phone line. 877-943-9673. That's pretty cool, Jared. Out of the gate, we get a federal grand juror. I mean, that's pretty special right there.
Yeah, that was quite a term, too, of 18 months. That's quite a long time to sit on a federal grand jury. So I think
some Major League Baseball careers are shorter than 18 months.
100%.
877-943-9673 for those of you who want to be part of the show. 877-943-9673. A couple of announcements. By the way, we are planning on Oktoberfest, still attending that, having a booth there. And by the way, I meant to tell you, Jared, welcome to come out. Hang out at the booth Saturday, October 14th, and we are lining up for special guests. I'll announce those as we get closer to the actual date, but planning on having some very special guests stopping by the booth throughout the day. So make sure you stop by Indian Rocks Beach Oktoberfest this year, Saturday, October 14th. I'll be there all day, shaking hands and meeting all you guys who want to come out. And we'll be working the Attorney Patrick Smith booth. In addition to that, for those of you who are in the Indian Rocks Beach area this week and want to hear our seminar on wills, trust, and estates, we will be doing that presentation at Indian Rocks Baptist Church this Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. in the Smiley's room. So you can come out there. That is sponsored by the Indian Rocks Foundation. And for more information, you can check out indianrocks.org. And to get your complimentary consultation with me during the week, 877-754-6764. That is the office line. If you would like to schedule your complimentary consultation in Sarasota, Sun City Center, Clearwater, any of our offices, 877-754-6764. But to talk to us today, 877-943-9673. All right, let's go to a very patient Dave in Sarasota. Dave, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning, Patrick.
Hey, Dave.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I enjoy your show very much.
Well, thank you for your kind words, Dave. What do you want to talk about today?
Jury duty. My question is, if the jurisdiction or the courts don't send a person a certified letter requiring a signature, how do they know you actually got your jury summons?
Well, it doesn't come certified. First of all,
I know that.
You're right about that. So I think there's a presumption that you got it. And then I believe if you just missed the first time, they actually have the courtesy of sending you a second notice. And this is actually a good pivot, Dave. So while I got you on the line, there's actually a famous list, according to People magazine, of celebrities who were actually subpoenaed. And starting at number one on the list was Taylor Swift, who actually missed, according to People, the 2016 MTV Video Music Awards because she was summoned for jury duty in Nashville. And there's a long list of celebrities here. Brad Pitt, former President George W. Bush, Oprah Winfrey. But the one I want to jump to, because it kind of alludes to what you're talking about, is, of course, the hot topic selection of former President Donald Trump being selected. And according to People, the now former president served for jury duty in 2015 while running for office after 5 summonses and accumulating a fine of $250. A Trump spokesperson told People that the previous summonses were sent to the wrong address, adding the fine was waived and he is pleased to fulfill his civic duty. So the short version is, as long as you're communicative and you can show that you're not blowing it off, I think there's a remedy there. But if you're just simply not going, I think that's a great way to find yourself in contempt of court.
Oh, I see. Because I have a friend who seems to rip them up and throw them away and give that excuse, like if they don't send them a certified letter, then they can't prove he ever got it.
You just want to be really careful. Disrespecting a court, a judge, in this process, not a good idea. So, Dave, make sure to tell your friend to be aware of that, and we would encourage him to change his ways. A little bit of communication with the clerk's office could go a long way here for him.
I agree.
All right, Jared, do you have something to add?
No, I was just going to say communication is so key with the court. I mean, the court can be very, very lenient. What they don't like is not knowing and a total stiff arming of the court. So as long as you have an open line of communication, they will accept excuses that you have, but they need to understand when, where, and why.
And if you want evidence, good empirical data firsthand of what courts do to those who disrespect them, go watch some of the videos about, and we did a show on it, the sovereign citizens. And when you watch sovereign citizens interact with a judge, it's pretty breathtaking. And so no, respect the court, respect their authority, respect the process. More importantly, I mean, it is our civic duty. And like, Amy, a super eager juror, you don't have to be necessarily like Amy, although that is wonderful to see someone like that. But you don't have to be like your friend either and just tearing up the notices. I mean, this is sort of the bookends of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much, Patrick.
Dave, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, you too.
All righty, 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, and we're going to go to Plant City and talk to Michael. Michael, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hey, Patrick. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm great, Michael. How can we help you?
I got a story about my wife. She got a phone call a couple of weeks ago from Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputy. And he informed her that she had missed her jury duty. And while he said that if you don't come to the sheriff's office and pay a fine, there's gonna be a warrant out for your arrest. And so she was like, I didn't receive a jury duty. So, well, it must have been, your husband might have thrown it away. Well, let me call and find out. She said, well, you can't call anybody because if you hang up or tell anybody about the phone call or you put me on mute, we're automatically going to put a warrant out for your arrest. And so she thought, well, this is a scam. And now my wife's a school teacher, but she's very, very smart. So she's like, yeah, this ain't right. So he said, well, you have to come down to the sheriff's office. And he gave the address of one of the sheriff's offices. And so that really got her to think, well, maybe this is for real. And so she texted me and I told her it's a scam. She's like, and she said, you can't call me because, if I hang up, I'm going to have a warrant out for my arrest. So I said, well, hold on. So I called a friend of mine who's a deputy. And first thing he said, it's a scam. He said, they won't call because it's a scam.
Yeah, that's definitely a scam, Michael. There's no way. I mean, if our judicial process had the standard of you hang up, there's a warrant. Trust me, there'd be a lot more warrants out there.
A good rule of thumb is run away from telephonic warrants.
Yeah.
They're not there to do what they say they're supposed to do.
Yeah, but what got her was she actually looked up the address and it was for the sheriff's office.
Well, that's how most scams work. There has to be enough truth to them to be believable. And I think that's what you're demonstrating here. We did a show on scams, and I don't think this scam ever came up. We did the lotto scam, the Nigerian prince scam, the your family's lost in Europe scam. But if you hang up with me, you get a bench warrant scam is a new one on me, Michael. So I appreciate you calling in and making everyone aware of it.
But she actually afterwards, she called the sheriff's office, and the person on the other line said, well, what they do is that because the office that they told you to go to was the parking lot is a distance from the building. So what they would have done was wait for you in the parking lot, robbed you in the parking lot because it's quite a distance from the actual office. So
that seems really dangerous in Florida, though. I mean, the number of people carrying firearms for self-defense. I mean, this sounds, I'm not trying to encourage good scam artists, but I'm just saying this sounds like a terribly stupid scam to run.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts in that scam.
But I guess,
Yeah, but the sheriff's office actually said that there was an issue up in North Florida or something. They said that they have actually started to come down to Hillsborough County. So they've been having a lot of issues in Hillsborough County with that, though.
This sounds more like the IRS scam that was going around where people would call and say, hey, you have a huge IRS bill. We can settle it right now for pennies on the dollar if we have your credit card information. But the difference here is, number one, it's about a warrant. And number two, they're actually asking for a meet. They want you to meet up with them so that they can rob you in person is what it sounds like. But so for those of you out there, be aware. This sounds scary. Yeah. Nonetheless, at the sheriff's office. So Wow. I guess it's like they say sometimes on TV, they don't catch the smart ones, do they, Michael?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Michael,
Thanks for
appreciate you
taking my
calling
call,
in.
man. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it.
Have a great day. All righty. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, 877-943-9673. We're discussing all things jury duty and answering all your legal questions. 877-943-9673. With me in studio, special guest attorney Jared Bailey. And next, we're going to go to my hometown of Winter Haven and talk to Bill. Bill, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning, Patrick. Thank you. I've enjoyed your show since the inception.
Well, Bill, I appreciate your kind words. How's my hometown of Winter Haven today?
It's hanging to the good, but it's pretty roasted right now.
I think it was like 85 when I stepped outside this
Oh,
morning. It's
geez,
just
I know.
hot and muggy. So, in Winter Haven there, you're in the middle of the swamp,
unreal.
basically. So,
I was with Joe for 15 years before you, so I've got quite a little record.
well, Bill, we
of
appreciate
the
your
law.
faithful listenership. How can we help you today?
Well, Joe wrote me a will. He said that the package wasn't good enough because I had about 80,000 at the time. He said that's not big enough to worry about. So he made me a will, and I went for it the other day, and the originals are both gone. So I think someone was in, and I told them about it, and I showed them, and they either took the originals with them or we put it back in the wrong place. I can't find it. Will the two copies be good enough?
The best answer I can give you is maybe. And just so you know, Joe's practice is still around. Obviously, he's not running it, but you're free to work with any attorney you want, Bill. So if you want a complimentary consultation to review that, we'll be happy to sit down with you and see what you have and whether or not it would be valid.
I've had a stroke and I can't move.
Well, then what we can do is a phone conference with you. So we'll just set up
Okay.
a phone consultation and do everything via telephone so that you don't have to deal with those ambulatory challenges, okay?
Okay. So you think it's a maybe, huh?
It's a definite maybe, Bill. And and I appreciate you listening out there on 90.3 FM, okay?
Well, I do. I love it. I'm here all the time.
Well, Bill, take care of Winter Haven for me and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We'll say a prayer for you, okay?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All righty, this is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673 for the late crowd. If you want to call and set up your complimentary consultation with me, the number for the office line, 877-754-6764, that toll-free number to schedule your complimentary consultation. Primarily, my practice area is estate planning, wills, trusts, and estates. Jared's primary practice area is personal injury. That number, 877-754-6764. You can call and set up your complimentary consultation. We still offer our flat fee estate planning. Wills at $75. People ask me, do you really charge $75 for a will? I was doing them this past week for $75 a pop. And for our simple trust packages, they're $695. That includes the trust, pour over will, power of attorney, healthcare surrogate, living will, and the deed for the homestead property. So flat fee estate planning, I find it makes clients very comfortable to know kind of what the total fee is going to be before they come in and remove some of that potential anxiety about the costs. So if you want to be part of today's show, 877-943-9673. All right, let's go to Phil in Palm Harbor. Phil, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Hi there, Patrick, Mr. Smith. Thank you for taking my call. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, Phil, you can call me Patrick. That's okay. Mr. Smith's my dad.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Patrick, I have a quick question. I recently moved here to Florida, probably about a month ago, from just outside Birmingham, Alabama. Approximately, I want to say it was almost 12 years ago, purchased a vehicle in Alabama, which at the time I had about between $3,000 and $5,000 was remaining on the vehicle. Purchased it for about $11,000 after some warranties and about $13,000 total. Now, this is back when vehicles were actually affordable, and so at the time when the vehicle was repossessed, I actually had lost my entire company went out of business, and the vehicle was repossessed at the time, and recently there was a summary judgment, quote unquote, delivered against me, but I never received a summons or anything else like that. And about a month or two later, I all of a sudden get garnished on my company paycheck, no notice from my there was just a notice from my HR department saying that a garnishment was being levied against me, and that's pretty much about it. And now they're taking a decent amount of my pay out of that. I already don't make much as it is. I work at a service station for crying out loud. So it's one of those things where what little bit I do have is even less now. And I'm curious as to how much, being that the vehicle was already this old, it was already repossessed almost it was repossessed a decade ago. I'm curious, and being that I now live in Florida, my address has already changed. Can they do that? I mean, what do I have against it? What can I do in this situation?
Well, apparently they can do it because they are doing it. But Phil, first of all, I want to compliment your resiliency. I mean, to go through a bankrupt business and bounce back, that takes a lot of character. So that speaks very highly of you. In addition to that, did you have counsel, or do you have counsel now representing you on this matter?
I have contacted an attorney in the area. I'm not too sure. It wasn't my business. It's the company I work for. They went bankrupt, or I shouldn't say they went bankrupt, but they closed their doors.
So ask your attorney this question: what it would take, and what the likelihood is, or their thoughts. And I'll let Jared chime in on this too. But what their thoughts are on filing a motion to set aside that judgment and possibly getting that garnishment removed. So that would be where my thought goes, but it sounds like it's an Alabama case. So I would check with your counsel that you have about what their thoughts are on those two topics. Is the venue Alabama, because that's where this all originated, and whether or not we should some sort of motion to vacate the judgment or something equivalent to that under Alabama statute would be appropriate. But those are the questions for your counsel. So Jared, anything to add on that?
I would just much had a proceeding there. And according to what you've told me, you weren't ever in Alabama courtroom regarding this at all, were you?
No, I never was. No, I was never even contacted even to show up for one either.
Okay. And have you ever seen any of the paperwork associated with it, or they just essentially have started, taking your wages as a result of this?
No, I received a piece of paper saying that a summary judgment had been delivered pretty much against me. And it wasn't even from the court. It was from the attorney's office, who decided they were going to be doing it, apparently. And they said that this judgment had been, decided on such and such date. I was never notified of a court date, but I've heard stories of where, attorneys will go into a courtroom and they'll just say, hey, my this person isn't here. Can I get a judgment on this or that? I don't know if that's true
but I think they have to show,
there.
I mean, I'm not an Alabama attorney, but I think they would have to show some sort of proof of service. And so I would want to see that affidavit signed by the process server saying, if they gave something that showed that you were served, where's that piece of paper, and on whom did they serve it?
Yeah, no, I definitely wasn't. All it was, like I said, it was a letter from an attorney's office out in the state of Alabama, and it just said that this has been done. This is a judgment that's been delivered against you, and they wanted me then to send them back a list of all my property and all my assets and all my everything else. And I thought, yeah, to heck with that. I'm going to help you guys. Yeah, let me go ahead and help you guys take away money from me. Sure, I'll get right on that. I don't have anything anyway. Ex-wife went ahead and took everything I have.
Well, let your attorney handle responding to all that. I mean, your attorney's there for a reason, and let them do their job, and they'll not necessarily make everything all better, Phil, but they can make a bad situation improved at least.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And you said, so basically I just want to ask them as far as getting the judgment set aside or something like that?
Yeah, filing a motion to set aside the summary judgment. I think that would be the question for your attorney, and whether or not you need to hire Alabama counsel, since it sounds like it originated in Alabama. Those would be my two leading questions, and then followed up by a third question of, can we see some sort of proof that we were served a notice about this proceeding?
Got it. Okay. Well, I appreciate them. Thank you very, very much. I truly appreciate your time, gentlemen. Thank you once again. God bless y'all and have a great day.
Phil, keep your chin up and let us know how it turns out. I'm kind of curious. Okay.
All right. No problem at all. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
All right. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, along with special guest, Attorney Jared Bailey. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. All right. Let's go back to my home county of Polk and talk to Chris. Chris, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning, Patrick. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
My ex-wife wrote out a divorce. We had it drawn up by a paralegal, filed it with the courts, got the divorce taken care of. He relinquished all ownership to the home in my divorce attorney at that time gave me a quit claim deed from her. Now, I'm at the point where I want to get a will or a living trust drawn up. I'm just curious how that would work with her still having, ownership on the loan part, because they won't remove her from the loan. I owe probably $18,000 on the home. I want to pay it off. When I pay it off, will her name still be on the home?
If she signed a quit claim over to you, it sounds like she's deeded over her property ownership interest to you, but that does not get her off the hook for the debt. So she's still on the mortgage until you refinance or satisfy that debt. And I think that's the question. So either go back to your existing attorney that you had on the case. If you want a second opinion, we'll be happy to give you one as far as that. Or if you need help with the estate planning portion of it, Chris would be happy to help you with that. But I think we need to look at those documents that were drafted. The part that confused me was you said you had a paralegal drafted up, but you had a divorce attorney. Was this paralegal working for that divorce attorney, or was this a paralegal outside of that divorce attorney's office?
It was outside the attorney's office because she and I had the same attorney for many years, and he couldn't represent both of us. So she wrote out the divorce, pretty much just took all the money and left me everything else with all the debt. So,
well, that was very generous of her.
So I had a paralegal draw up the divorce according to the way she wrote it out. And of course, she signed off on it, and we had it filed. I took it right to the courthouse and filed it, and it was granted. So now my only question is, if I pay this off, will her name still be on the home? Because I want to do a will or a trust, which I'm going to call you to get that done. My attorney doesn't do that.
Well, I'll be happy to help you with that, Chris. The short answer is I need to look at the paperwork. So we give you a complimentary consultation. Just call the office line. I'll give it out as soon as we hang up, and write that number down and call me next week. We'll get you in to go over the paperwork, tell you what the consequences would be, and if it is the outcome that you think, where your wife is no longer enjoying the benefits of any ownership of that property.
Okay, that'd be great.
All righty, Chris. Look forward to working with you. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, okay?
Yep, thanks, Pat. Be blessed.
Yes, sir. All righty, 877-943-9673. Chris hanging up does open up a phone line, so if you've been trying to get in, give us a call now. 877-943-9673. All right, I got to go straight to this call because according to my call screener, this is probably going to be the call of the show. Mary in Tampa. Let's talk to Mary. Mary?
Yes, sir.
Tell the listenership what you want to talk about, please.
I want to know if it's illegal for your neighbor to put a bug in your house.
Yes, that was an easy question.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to know.
Is it legal? Did someone put a bug in your house?
I think they did.
Now, what makes you think this, Mary?
Because they know everything I'm doing.
They know everything you're doing, and they give you some sort of evidence that they know what you're doing?
They scream and holler.
And have you written them some sort of correspondence to ask?
No, I don't talk to them at all. I don't talk to them. I don't look at them.
Okay. Have you can go to one of these spy shops and get a bug detector that'll help you, an EMF sweep of your house to see if they've hidden a bug somewhere.
Okay, where do I get this at?
I would just say, hop on Google and search for bug detection devices for home. People commonly carry these actually when they travel a lot, and they sweep their hotel rooms for cameras and listening devices. So these are actually more common than you realize. So I would just say, search something like that on the internet. You may spend a few bucks, but then you can sweep the house, and at least you'll have some peace of mind.
Oh, thank you very much.
Mary,
I listen to you every morning.
Well, Mary,
every Saturday morning.
I appreciate your faithful listenership, Mary. Thank you so much. And on what station are you listening?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's okay. You're listening, and that's all that matters, Mary. Let us know if you find any bugs, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All righty, have a great day. 877-943-9673. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I think that she should probably call the police too, especially if she finds a bug. That's a crime.
100%. If you have someone that's bugging your house unbeknownst to you, it's one of the questions I had from her is, what are they trying to do with all this data that they're collecting on you? I mean, that's criminal.
Or how many other people are they doing it to? That's where my mind went.
Correct.
All right, let's go quickly to Tina in Clearwater. Tina, I have about 30 seconds. Can you do it in 30 seconds?
Yes, I think so.
Go.
Okay. The purpose of my call is to talk about identity theft. Recently, I was notified that my social security number and name were part of a data breach.
Yep.
And they gave me a subscription for 1 year to credit monitoring. And I recently saw where a local hospital had been sued for data breach. And I feel like companies need to be more secure if they're handling people's data, like personal data. And I was just wondering, what is the recourse for individuals?
Well, it's exactly what you've alluded to. You can bring litigation for this breach. And Tina, it's a longer conversation, obviously, than I have time for. So I'll give out the office line. Call me at the office during the week, and I'll be happy to walk you through your steps, okay?
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, that office line to reach me to schedule your complimentary consultation, 877-754-6764. Where did that bumper come from, Yumiko? That's a new bumper. I've never heard that before. 877-754-6764. Your toll-free office line to schedule your complimentary consultation with me, Attorney Patrick Smith. Special thanks to Attorney Jared Bailey for being here today. Thanks so much, Jared.
Thank you, Patrick.
Everybody, stay safe, God bless, and have an amazing weekend.
The proceeding was sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. W282CI Tampa.